Welcome back to Cineflix. Some horror movies aren't scary because of what's chasing you. They're scary because there's nowhere left to run. These are 10 films where the trap closes before the characters even realize they're in one. And by the time they do, it's already too late. The town that isn't there in Maniacs. A group of college students road tripping through the South get lured off the highway by a sign advertising a small town's annual celebration. The town, Pleasant Valley, greets them with over-the-top Southern hospitality that feels warm at first and increasingly wrong the longer they stay. One by one, the visitors vanish, and the festival turns out to be something far more sinister. The townspeople hunting them down under the direction of their mayor. Two of the group manage to escape on a motorcycle and flag down a sheriff, leading him back to where the town should be. Except it isn't there anymore. In its place, an old, forgotten cemetery. The lawman explains the horrifying truth. The town's residents died generations ago and return as vengeful spirits, bound to a curse demanding a set number of outsiders' lives. Just when the survivors think they're finally safe, the curse proves it was never done with them. Nowhere to run on the road. A group of friends driving through a remote stretch of highway get stranded after their tire blows. Except it wasn't an accident. A sniper hidden somewhere in the distance shot it out on purpose. And now every attempt to move, hide, or flee gets answered with another gunshot. As the group scrambles for any kind of cover, panic and disagreement tear them apart, and the body count climbs. Eventually, only 2 are left, and a last-ditch plan using a burning car as cover almost works. Almost. When police finally show up, the shooter takes them out too. The final survivor manages an all-or-nothing charge at the sniper's position, and for one moment, it looks like the nightmare might actually end in their favor. Then a stray shot during the struggle ends it instead, just seconds from freedom. What comes back isn't the same. In Pet Sematary, a family relocates to a quiet home near an ancient burial ground rumored to bring the dead back to life, just not exactly as they were. After a devastating accident takes his young daughter, a grieving father makes the choice everyone warned him against. He buries her in the cursed ground. She comes back changed, and it isn't long before the people closest to her become her first targets. As the family unravels one horrifying loss at a time, the father makes increasingly desperate attempts to undo what he's done, only to make things worse with each decision. By the final scene, the family is fully consumed by what the burial ground unleashed, and the film closes on the implication that the youngest member of the family is next. The wedding that became a massacre. A couple's wedding reception is in full swing, surrounded by friends and family, when one guest suddenly turns violently aggressive. Within minutes, an infection tears through the crowd, and what should have been the happiest day of the bride and groom's lives becomes a fight for survival as guests turn on each other. Separated in the chaos, the couple spends most of the film trying to find their way back to one another while the infected keep multiplying around them. When they finally reunite, it looks like they might make it out until the bride is bitten. Her new husband tries anything he can to save her, but it isn't enough, and their story ends in a final, tragic confrontation instead of the happy ending the day was supposed to bring. The cabin that started the outbreak. In Cabin Fever, a group of friends head to a remote cabin for a relaxing weekend getaway and instead encounter a stranger suffering from a horrifying, unidentified infection. Panicked, they send him away, not realizing they've already been exposed. Within days, the disease starts working through the group, and the paranoia it causes turns out to be just as deadly as the illness itself. Friendships collapse as the infected are treated with suspicion, and the group turns on each other faster than the disease can finish the job. By the end, virtually nobody from the original group survives, and the final shot makes clear the outbreak isn't staying contained to that one cabin in the woods. The expedition that repeats itself. A group of students travels to Russia to investigate the real unsolved 1959 mystery that left 9 hikers dead on a remote mountain pass. Retracing the doomed expedition's route with cameras rolling, the trip starts as a straightforward documentary project until unexplainable events start piling up the closer they get to the mountain. The group eventually stumbles onto a hidden underground military facility involved in experiments far beyond anything they expected, and the survivors are hunted through it by mutated creatures. A desperate escape leads two remaining students into a strange portal that sends them backward in time and transforms them in the process. The twist lands hard. The monsters chasing them the whole movie were the missing hikers all along. The woods that never let them leave. In the Blair Witch Project, 3 student filmmakers head into the woods to document local legends about a supposed witch haunting the area. Expecting a simple, low-key documentary shoot. Instead, they quickly get lost, and the woods themselves start working against them. Strange symbols appear around their camp. Unexplained noises fill the nights, and their sense of direction completely falls apart. One member of the group disappears first, and the remaining 2 spend increasingly desperate days trying to find him, eventually following his voice to an abandoned house deep in the forest. What happens inside that house is left almost entirely to the imagination. The footage simply stops, and neither filmmaker is ever seen or heard from again. Opening night. Nobody survived. A group of friends turn an abandoned hotel into an elaborate haunted house attraction for Halloween, dismissing early warning signs that something might actually be living inside the building. As opening night approaches, the paranormal activity intensifies. Props move on their own, crew members vanish, and unexplained figures start appearing in places they shouldn't. The film gradually reveals what really happened through recovered footage from the days leading up to the tragedy. Building toward the catastrophic event that made headlines, dozens of guests and staff members killed on opening night. The final recovered footage shows the last remaining crew members swallowed into the darkness of the hotel, with no survivors left to explain what actually happened. The grandmother who wasn't herself. In The Taking of Deborah Logan, what begins as a student documentary about an elderly woman's battle with Alzheimer's slowly turns into something far darker. The crew starts noticing behavior in Deborah that has nothing to do with her diagnosis, speaking in voices that aren't hers and displaying knowledge she shouldn't have. As the film crew digs deeper, they uncover a disturbing link between Deborah and a long-dead serial killer, and it becomes clear something has taken hold of her that has nothing to do with old age. The final act turns into a desperate attempt to stop the entity before it claims another victim. And while a few characters technically survive, the film makes it painfully clear that whatever was controlling Deborah is still out there and still winning. The hospital that rewrites itself. A paranormal reality TV crew locks themselves inside an abandoned psychiatric hospital overnight, fully expecting to fake a few scares for the cameras. Instead, the hospital itself starts working against them. Hallways rearrange, doors vanish, and every attempted exit only leads deeper into the building. The crew is picked off one at a time until only the show's host remains, and his final, increasingly frantic search for a way out leads to what looks like an exit door. Stepping through it, he finds himself right back inside the hospital, exactly where he started. The realization breaks him completely. There was never an actual way out, and the final footage shows him alone and resigned, fully understanding that the building has no intention of ever letting him go. That's 10 horror movies where the real villain wasn't a knife or a monster. It was the place itself. If you made it this far, you already know, some doors only open one way. That's it for this episode of Cineflix. Like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments which one of these traps scared you the most.